We had, again, we've got one big Irish draft horse who had a really autistic boy who came on one of the school's programs and just, he didn't want to engage at all. And so we were out with all the other kids catching the horses, and he just stood, put his head down, and just whatever. And this big old Irish draft was not the horse I was going to put him with, but he clocked him from the other side of the field, and I just saw him kind of like coming, and he just literally came up and he put his head on this kid's shoulder.
Ah.
So they then spent the whole their school program. He then came back to us about 2 years later to do the youth development program, and bubbling up here just thinking about it. And this kid, having not been here for 2 years, went into the field and exactly the same thing happened.
Good
This
Lord.
horse from a distance spied this child who was then 19 years old and literally went up to him and did the same thing. Now, how does that happen?
This is one of the things that I am constantly floored by, is just when I think I know something about horses, they do in this type of work that we do, the way that they'll show up making their own decisions, completely independent of us. I remember once one of my really good quarter horses who could be aloof. We had a boy who drowned and was in a pretty vegetative state, and people said, well, can we bring him? I'm like, sure, but I don't know what, but sure. And this kid comes out and he's in a wheelchair and he's completely unresponsive, feeding tube. And my horse Clue just comes, like you just described, across the field and just sniffs him all over and then licks him all over from head to toe.
And that's not something that horses do. That's just weird.
They don't. And it's not like he was my licking horse or something. No. And what ended up happening was the kid ended up riding him and indicating and responding. But what was going on in the sort of other dimensional consciousness that for example, with this autistic boy that you describe and your horse, something goes on in that field of consciousness that's outside of our perception.